Yo, it's your man with the plan, Marcelars here to do a brief overview of both Persona 5 Royal and Scramble. And for those who are concerned for spoils for Scramble, don't worry, I'm pretty much only going to go through the gameplay and generally how I felt about the story. Maybe I'll make a video more in depth about how I feel about Scramble in general, but I am going to go anything goes for Royal right now. So if you haven't played Royal, and if you just don't want to know absolutely anything about Scramble, click off this video. But with that in mind, I'm going to get started right away. So for Royal, I'm just going to talk about just the stuff that was different from the original. I'm not going to go too much deep into it. I'll make a big video if you guys want me to, or if this video gets enough love. But basically, how I feel about Royal overall. I love the inclusions. I love the changes to the palaces. It helped a lot of the random stuff that happened in the palaces that were just really random and really didn't do much in the original game. They added to it, which it was a great plus. The will seeds, they were a great addition. Some of the abilities were so broken. I don't even understand why you need any other accessory once you get enough of the will seed accessories, because only 2 of them are bad by the end of the game. But how I really kind of feel about some of the stuff they cut out for the will seeds was a little different, because if you look on YouTube or you look up some of the stuff that they would have put for the will seeds, it was really cool, and I wish they kind of included that, even though I understand why they didn't, because it would have got rid of a lot of the surprise factor in the story. Like they showed Yusuke's mom dying and a lot of the other stuff. If you look it up on YouTube, like unused scenes in Persona 5 Royale, it has Yusuke's mom dying. It shows how Kamoshida thought he can get away with what he got away with. It shows all that shit. It's a whole bunch of will seed cutscenes that they didn't include in the main game for plot reasons. How I feel about the change in combat. The change in combat was amazing. I like how you get the baton pass right at the get-go, honestly, because my main concern for Persona 5, the original, was that even though you got Yusuke in the second dungeon, you do feel like you couldn't even really use them until the third, because the baton pass and all the stuff that the characters could normally you could use wasn't in the main game. They didn't have it right away. In the main game, they didn't have it right away. In the spin-off, the baton pass is a mechanic, not just an unlockable mechanic, which is so much better. The next thing I want to talk about is how they included Kasumi. And that's a big thing for a lot of Persona 5 characters, Persona fans, or Persona 4 fans in general. For those who play Persona 4 Golden and Persona 4 Original, you find out that they added Marie, but Marie was such a character they didn't really focus on that often, and it didn't really feel like a main big character they should have really been advertising to be a selling point of Golden versus the original vanilla Persona 4. And now that I talked to Kasumi and I got a general idea of how I felt about Kasumi, I gotta say, she's literally one of my favorite characters in the whole game. And I don't know how they did it. I end up waifuing her in the main game. But it took a very long time. You couldn't really waifu her until the third semester, I think. So unless you got the third semester, you really couldn't waifu her. So I really it was painful to reject everybody. But hey, I know what I like. The next thing I wanted to talk about is Dr. Maruki. Dr. Maruki was a character I didn't know how I really felt about at first, because I thought he was just going to be... I predicted, if you want to know, I really predicted pretty much 90% was going to happen in Persona 5 Royale in my prediction video I did before it came out in Japanese. I think I have that on my channel. And honestly, it came out way better than I even thought it was going to be, because never have I played a game where I felt so sympathetic to a villain. And any game, honestly, or any media. very often I'm like, God, yeah, but he killed 1,000 people, or he did this or that. Dr. Maruki was a very sympathetic villain to me, and he was even, I don't even know if he was borderline not a villain, honestly. That's how sympathetic he was. Because really, in the end, he didn't really end up hurting anybody, and nor did he really want to. So there's just his ideals were different, and that was really cool. The next character I want to talk about is Akechi. So for those who watch anything Persona related from me from the far past, I'm not the biggest fan of Akechi. I was not the biggest fan of Akechi originally, because they gave Akechi the second personality and it just came out of nowhere, and you didn't understand the reason behind it, nor did you get a feel for his personality, because it was just like, oh, I'm evil, I'm dead, never see me again. And that kind of sucked. So when they added the third semester and they gave Akechi more depth to his character, you understand what he's like now. And now he almost like raised above even the main cast now. Like, I'm a Akechi lover now. Not for the same reasons why everybody else is a Akechi lover, but I'm a Akechi lover now. I love what they did with Akechi. I didn't even want to take him out my party. That's how much I love Akechi. And just all the little like plot details that they gave him and everything was just amazing. The next thing I have here on Royale is how they redubbed some of the lines. So if you are a hardcore Persona fan, especially a Persona 5 fan like I am, you'll go through the game originally. I went through the original game like 3 or 4 times, and I kind of know the lines by heart. It's so many, it's so long. But they did redo a lot of the lines to be more accurate to the to the original Japanese. You can tell because there's some really, the old lines are kind of cool, but like there was a line in the original Persona 5 where Morgana got mad at Ryuji, Morgana, and the main character because they didn't allow her to go into the first raid through Kamoshida's castle, and Morgana said something like, I don't like the way she looked, because from what I saw, women don't hesitate, or something real stupid, but they changed the line to something like I didn't like that look in her eye, because I know as far as I know that women don't let that stuff go, like that stuff like that go, or something like that. Like, they did redo some of the lines, and if you're a hardcore fan like me, you can tell, because you can't completely tell because they didn't redo everything. They just did some of the lines that I think were a lot more ad-libbed into the script. To get rid of that criticism about the original Persona 5, the translation was a little weird. I still think they had some of the weird translation stuff in there, but I don't really care about that stuff. Overall, a very enjoyable experience. The third semester, it brought in a lot. You got to meet a lot of the characters that you wouldn't have met through the main story. Like, it literally gave you an excuse to meet some of the characters that caused some of the stuff in the main story that don't exist, or the characters that don't exist at the current point in the game. They died, or they're not there anymore. It was just fun to see such an interesting combination of the wishes of the main characters came true. A great experience. It's literally topped off. It perfected the ending for the original Persona 5, because in my opinion, the original Persona 5 ending was kind of rushed. Like, for those who don't know, in the original Persona 5, Morgana, like, one thing that was weird was that Morgana was gone, said he came back to life for a whole month and just never came back home, just because. That was weird. And there's a few other things that was weird, like the main character going home randomly. Like, it just felt like there was nothing pushing it, and there was no reason for him to not stay with his friends, because they didn't have that type of ending. So what they did in the Royals ending, they basically took what you knew about Royal and, well, what you knew about the original, and they basically scratched that whole ending, kept some of the elements of it. Like, there's literally some of the elements of it, which was kind of weird, honestly, but I don't really care. What happened is that all the characters had to start going their own way. No, the older characters went to college. The other characters went to different schools. I think An is going is like doing an overseas like student, transfer student overseas trip. Ryuji is going to a different school to join a track team that isn't, doesn't already hate him. Shoot. I can't remember. Yusuke's staying, and so is Futaba. Like, they were all kind of going their own separate ways in the end of the game, which was so much more satisfying. And it also made it more satisfying. It's the first time I platinumed a game. Any game. It's the first time I platinumed Persona, any game at all. Persona 5 Royale is the first game. Now, it was pretty easy, but it was still an amazing plat to get through. But yeah, I really liked the game. I think the ending was not as strong as it should have been, but it still was satisfactory enough in my book. I still think it should have ended the way the original ended in some way. And there was a little bit more attitude, and they kind of treated Kasumi and Akechi kind of off at the end of it, but overall it's like a 9.9 out of 10. Isn't for how weird that some of the ending was. It's a 9.9 out of 10. Like, it's literally right there at perfect for me almost. I was smiling the whole way through it. But with that out of the way, it's time to go to the second part of what they consider the second part of the Persona 5 story, and that is Persona 5 Scramble. And like I said, I'm not going to go into too much detail about the story. It's going to be mostly gameplay and just how I felt about the story overall without diverging too much about it. Persona 5 Scramble, I think I ordered it from is it Play Asia, or I ordered it from Play Asia through Amazon for like $100 because Japanese video games are priced way differently there than it is here. So it was $80 originally plus shipping, and I booted up the game, and right away, for those who are concerned about how easy or hard it is, this game is brutally hard. It's not brutal, but it's pretty hard. There are times that it's not what you could consider what original Musou game is, because Musou games are normally just like arena fighters that have thousands and thousands of different enemies on the field that might touch you once in a while and do a decent amount of damage, but that's the whole point, is that you're supposed to go through them before they start touching you too much. That sounds really weird, but but in this game, the enemies are a lot more concentrated, and the attacks are a lot more concentrated. There are a lot of times where, almost to the point close to the end of the game, well, let me back up a little bit. It's hard to a point to where, like, there might be some regular enemies you might be able to wipe out in 1 or 2 hits, because like if you ambush an enemy, there's stealth in this game. For those who think that is not in this game, there's stealth in this game. But when you ambush an enemy, you go straight into an all-out attack for the most part. There's sometimes you don't. For the most part, you go into an all-out attack. And I think it's if you're higher level or you're close to their level. And that pretty much wipes out pretty much a good amount of the waves. But there's a good amount of times where you'll run into an enemy and they will have like a mini boss thing going on, where they have like these little shield symbols on them, and they can be on any enemy. It can be an enemy on this random enemy. If it's glowing red, like they do in the main Persona 5 game or Royale, they are most likely a mini boss character, and they are normally extremely tanky. That's the one concern. That's the one problem I had. It got so much. They were so tanky to the point closer to like the end of the game, I just turned it on easy because they were so tanky to the point I couldn't. They were doing so much. They basically whittled down my SP and HP down to like nothing just through one fight, and I had to like use items to replenish it. But that's the one concern I do have about it. It's almost something. It is actually almost too hard or normal. On hard, I can't even imagine. But other than that, the combat is really smooth. The stealth is okay. It's good. It's good. It could have a little bit more fluidity to it. You feel like sometimes you're just out of reach of some of the objects you can stealth through, but whatever. They make sure the enemies don't see you right away, so that helps too. And I think also for the combat, one thing to keep in mind is that there's a lot of transferring back between here and the real world, since this game only takes place in the time span of a month or a month and a half. So you do transfer between the real world. The game is designed to transfer you between the real world and the metaverse, you know, back and forth, because you're only doing it in like 2 or 3 days per dungeon. So they need an excuse for you to go back to the regular world. So that's probably why your SP and HP go down so quickly. But yeah, overall, all the characters are fun. I gotta say, my favorite characters to play as was Makoto, the main character, Yusuke, and the two other characters that I'm going to get to. I'm not gonna spoil who the new members are, because one of them you can't even really tell unless you watch the trailer. Like honestly, if you haven't watched the trailer, I don't even know why you're here. But one of the characters you won't be able to tell right away who the character is, but the other one, Sophie, I talked about her in our last review, that she's fun. She's fun. She's like a mixture between everybody, honestly. She's light type user. But let's get to the story. I can go on and on about the mechanics, but I'll probably in the background of this video, I'm probably just going to have like one of the little mini boss battles in the background just to show you like generally what the combat's like. I understand about 80% of the mechanics in the game, so you know, enjoy that in the background. Now for the story. I'm not going to go too deep into it. The number one question everybody has about the story: is it connected to Persona 5 Royal or the original Persona 5? And I will say it is connected to the original Persona 5, but this game doesn't go out of its way too much to talk about what happened in the past game too much. It only talks about the first boss, Kamoshida, and I guess since I'm talking about Royale, I can talk about the other person they talk about. They talk about Shido. Those are the only two in the God of Control. They talk about those 3 characters. They don't really ever go too far back into. They don't mention Kasumi. They don't mention Akechi at all. You know, they don't mention Maruki. So like this, the idea, they don't even talk about Akechi. Keep that in mind while you talk about this game. So it just doesn't delve too deep into the past game. So most likely if they come out with an arena game or something like that, they're probably going to connect this game and the last one, because at the end of Persona 5 Royal, Kasumi's training. They could just make that excuse that Kasumi's out training, so they just didn't have her excuse, you know, want to mess up her training regimen. And you know, Akechi's most likely, because of that weird ending, might, quote unquote, don't quote me, might be dead. And Maruki is just doing his own thing. But the 2 new characters that are introduced in this new game, I gotta say, alongside Kasumi, I think the new characters in the Persona franchise from Royal forward have been so good. I actually like them more than the main cast. It's just a personal opinion though. You know, everybody got their waifus and stuff, but to me, some of the best characters ever. Like honestly, Sophia, once you understand a lot about her, I like her more than even past characters are like her in past games. And you'll understand what I mean if you play the main game, or because I don't want to ruin that part too much, even though I think I talked about it in my last video a little bit. But overall, the story is very light, not lighthearted. How to explain it? It follows a lot of beats that original Persona 5. It's like a mixture between Persona 5 and Persona 4 story. If that gives you any idea of what it's like. I'm not giving you any plot points. I'm just saying the feel of it feels like that. It's goofy, but it's not really like 5 is. It doesn't really remind me of 3 at all. It's not that serious. But overall, well, I'm going to go to the voice acting, and then I'm going to give you my final thoughts on both the games. And then if I want to make a video, I'll do it later. But the voice acting, the English voice acting in Royale was amazing, especially the new parts like Akechi. Oh my God, Akechi! I'm just going to do the voice acting for both of them together. Akechi was amazing, the best, like one of the best voice actors ever. Like you didn't even hear. Once you got to hear all his different inflections, and like my favorite line from Akechi from the original was like I can't remember what was the line. Oh, when you scanned an enemy that had a nuclear resistance to or nuclear weakness to it, and he's like this one's weak to nuclear. I want to see a mushroom cloud in here, and like some stupid shit. Like he said some crazy shit, and I loved it all. Like I wish he had Navigator Akechi all the time. Kasumi was amazing. Her voice grew on me. I think it was good at first, but now it's amazing. Her English voice acting, and then to the Japanese cast on Scramble. The one character I'm not talking about yet, his voice actor, his Japanese voice actor, beautiful. But the one who took the show in the Japanese voice acting, I'm not even a big fan of subs, because I've heard some bad, like not subs, how do you say it, whatever. I've heard some bad Japanese voice acting before that people have just praised, and I don't speak Japanese, but I've heard enough of it. I've heard enough. I don't speak a lot of Japanese, but I've had enough friends and enough people I know that speak it when I know when it sounds like somebody's just kind of phoning it in, and there's been times in some dubs, but I gotta say the two new characters, because the original cast is already good. The two new characters, I gotta say Sophia's voice actor, once you get closer to the end of the game, oh my God, I've never had a Japanese voice actor make me cry the way her voice actor has made me cry. So you guys are gonna look forward to that when it comes out. If hopefully the English dub captures it, they probably will. They're pretty good at mimicking voices for Persona. But honestly, I loved everything. I loved Part Royale is like a 9.9. I don't like giving scores, but I have to. 9.9. I gotta say Scramble is like a 9 to like an 8.5. There's some things that I didn't like about it, especially combat-wise. Like, it's personal opinion combat-wise. Like, sometimes some enemies were hella tough for just being scrubs. That's my number one thing about the combat. Like, I know I was a little under level, but not that much. But overall, everything was great. Everything was almost perfect. As perfect as it almost could be for any video game. So, for those who liked Royal, oh my God, do you guys have fun? You know, going through the game again or playing the other spin-offs. I might do a video once the fighting game comes out on all the spin-offs together. And then I might do a separate one on all the different spin-offs. And for those who like Scramble, you guys are in for a treat. The song that is the Rivers in the Desert for this game is so different. It's not exactly like Rivers in the Desert, but it's just as hype. You guys are gonna love it. So, please hit me with a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Doesn't matter which one. It just helps to know you guys are watching. Also, hit the subscribe button, that little bell icon to join the rebellion, because I'm only ambassador new friends. And I will see you guys in the next video and or stream. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.